We are showing you quite detailed afternoon tea etiquette tips, which are not generally covered by any other general videos or description of afternoon tea. So please take your notes one after the other and be patient. There is lots to learn, and as with anything and everything, patience is the key, as well as practice will make you really good at it. Now, whilst the Chinese have been drinking tea over 5,000 years, tea is a relevantly new occurrence to the British society. It's only been around for around 300 years, not that long. But in those 300 years, it's left a huge impact on the British culture. In fact, it's quite unimaginable to think of Great Britain without tea. Tea is everywhere. And the British are not dissimilar to any other nation when it comes to hospitality. You will always be welcomed by a nice hot cup of tea in any British home. Afternoon tea is quite an upper class affair because it actually originated in the upper classes, in the aristocracy. And then throughout the years, it trickled down through the middle class to the working class. And nowadays, when we make a cup of tea and have our tea, we do not lay out the table in such fashion. We have our tea quickly, on the go. We take one tea bag, we pour hot water over it in a big mug, we add milk and sugar to it, and we drink it on the go. And that's your builder's tea in a mug. Now, it's also called builder's tea because usually builders take a break at about 11 o'clock or take regular breaks throughout the day, and then they would refresh themselves with a strong brew, as they would say, a strong cup of tea with tons of sugar in it. That's a proper builder's cup of tea. You can stand a spoon in it because it's that sweet, and it serves a couple of purposes. The main purpose is to refresh the builder, to give them some extra strength and sustenance to push through the rest of the day in their work. So previously we've shown you what a normal teacup looks today in our cupboards in the UK. Actually, they are mugs. They're quite tall, big cups for tea. However, when we are enjoying our afternoon tea, we will be faced with a fine bone china crockery set. So the teacup will be quite delicate and most likely made out of porcelain. The same as for the actual tea that originates from China, when it comes to teacups and its shape, we also have the Chinese to thank for. The original Chinese teacups were actually tea bowls, and they didn't have the handle and they didn't have a little stand that we see today in our teacups. So over time, the teacup evolved, a handle was added, and perhaps a little addition for the teacup to balance. The thing to remember about the teacup is that it has to be light, so you can lift it up easily, and the teacup is rounded at the bottom. So you will recognize a teacup by its round shape at the bottom. But just for the purpose of demonstration, we will also demonstrate what a coffee cup looks like. Now, coffee cups are actually straight, so you can see quite a difference between the shape between a teacup and a coffee cup. We have different types of cups. We also have different types of tea. When it comes to the afternoon tea, it's usually really good fine grade loose leaf tea that is served. And since we are using loose leaf tea, we also need to make use of a tea strainer together with a drip tray. So we place the strainer on the top of the teacup, we take the teapot, pour the tea, and remove the strainer. This brings us nicely to actually looking at what the place setting looks like for afternoon tea. It's actually quite simple. Now, what's very important to remember is that the same rules which apply to the fine dining etiquette apply to the British afternoon tea etiquette as well. Remember, the tea etiquette originated in the upper aristocratic classes, and that's why taking tea, afternoon tea style, is still very much a refined affair. So when we are sitting down, remember, don't cross your legs. Keep both of your feet firmly on the ground. Keep your core upright, and remember, you've got a book on top of your head. Now, we have modules that teach fine dining etiquette really in depth, as well as body language, as well as how to sit, how to walk. Now, you will also address the napkin the same way. Please take your napkin, place it in your lap, and unfold it in your lap. You will notice that you'll have a rather smallish plate in front of you, together with a knife and a fork. The teacup will be placed to the right. It's very important to remember, although you have a knife, you never cut anything while you're having afternoon tea. There are a few pieces of crockery. There will be a milk jug for your milk, as well as sugar tongs and sugar cubes, in case you prefer sugar with your milk. Now that we've taken a closer look at the actual place setting and what we can expect when we sit down to have our afternoon tea, we will look at the actual food and the tea that gets served. Now, all of it will be served all at once to you. So your pot of tea, your teapot will be served to you, as well as the actual afternoon tea delights, the sandwiches, the scones, the small cakes and pastries, together with the clotted cream, as well as the strawberry preserve. So the next thing to do would be clearly to pour some tea. So we already demonstrated the use of the tea strainer. So we'll pour tea. Now, if you have really good manners, you will make sure that once you pick up your teapot, you actually pour tea for other people. Ask them, would you like some tea? Would you like some tea? And pour it for them. Take care of the tea strainer. Once the tea is ready to be served, and remember, leave it for a couple of minutes, ideally 3 to 6 minutes to brew, you will want to try it and enjoy it. Now, some people prefer to pour the tea in first and then to add milk, and some people actually pour the milk in first and then they add the tea. What do you think is the correct way? Actually, there isn't a specific rule about that. It's your preference. Some say that by pouring in the tea first and then adding milk, you actually have control over how much milk goes into your teacup. And there is a study that's been done that says, in fact, if you put in the milk first and then the tea, they blend better. You might end up with a better blend, better tasting tea. At the end of the day, it's up to you. Now remember, if you are enjoying your afternoon tea at a very, very established hotel such as the Ritz, very often the waiting staff will pour in the tea for you first. If you are entertaining guests at home, and indeed you have invited them to your own afternoon tea party, You as the host would be the main tea pourer. And in order to pour tea for others, you would pick up your teapot and you would pour tea and serve it to the person, and then separately you'd pour tea and serve it to another person. What we are trying to avoid is you going around and just pouring tea without then serving the other person. So it's pouring tea, serving, pouring tea, serving. If you do have a guest of honor, you can designate them to be the tea pourer. Now that's quite an honor. We always know who the tea pourer is because the spout actually faces the tea pourer. It's a little bit of extra afternoon tea etiquette.